So the sweeter that you are, the more of yourself, the more authentic that you are, it's the more that people will follow your brand, the more that people will support it. Sometimes the following does not equate into the sales. Sometimes the following does not equate to if you get that job, if you get that gig. But I'll tell you one thing, when it comes to things like reality television, when it comes to things like selling these endorsements, when it comes to things like YouTube reviews, when it comes to things like just random influencer hosting or curating of different membership boxes and subscription type boxes, and you posting it to your social media, that type of niceness and that type of poise matters. You can't expect to get the Johnson & Johnson hair campaign for your baby if you are posting photos of your baby that aren't really baby type photos, that aren't really polished type photos, that, let's say you have beer in the background. Okay, why would Johnson & Johnson come to you and ask you to endorse anything if you have beer in the background? Again, for some people it works because they may be reality stars. Maybe it's just part of their brand. But know what your brand is. You have to know what your brand is. You have to know, first off, what is my brand? What does that feel like for me? Are you happy with that, or are you just doing it for money? I'll tell you a little secret. If you're doing it just for money, it's never gonna work out. It has to be your passion. It has to be your purpose. Your gifts will literally make room for you. So what are those gifts? What is that brand? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it say to other people? How does it touch other people? Do people need your brand? Every time there's I'll just speak for example, sometimes when there's some type of casting, and let's say I'm a guest judge for that casting, it baffles me when people come to me and say, oh my gosh, you need me for this. You need for me to do this. You need for me to do that. When someone needs for someone to do something, that's a very bold statement when you say that. So going to someone who is on social media who is having a casting for whatever your brand is, or someone who is a potential client, and saying, even if it's no different, you may be a chef watching this for your brand. If you're looking for potential clients, you don't go and say, oh my God, you need my food. You have to have it. You have to have it. It's a little different. But I think that we can misinterpret things on social media sometimes, and you never know what type of judge you're going to get that day, or what type of casting director you're going to get that day, or what kind of mood they're in. We have to be very careful with our words, and that's something I'm going to get back to in just a second. But back to the original story. I was sitting there with the plan at Wells Fargo, dropped my friend off at this magazine office, met this other friend who knew me through social media and a polished, approachable brand. And then one day she decides to invite me to a movie premiere where I ended up meeting Cynthia Bailey from Real Housewives of Atlanta. The rest is basically history. I was consistent in presenting a clean brand. I made sure that my social media pages weren't profane. I made sure that my social media pages proved who I was as a business person and what I was capable of. Here's the kicker. Here's spoiler alert. The best thing is that you eventually get to be your true authentic self outside of business, and people get to see the personal side of you and the transparency of your life. But first you have to work for that. You have to get to that point. A lot of people are like, well, I'm not changing because I'm gonna be who I am. I'm gonna be who I am regardless. Okay, you can be who you are, but there are certain sides of yourself that you gradually are unlocking, right? Because you're thinking of the general public and people that are viewing your brand. as like, people outside of the gate. Don't open it all up at once, because what's the value in that? What's the value in letting everybody in the theme park and not making them go through security first to make sure that they even belong there? What's the value in letting them get on the rides when some of them may not be able to handle the rides? In this case, what you have to offer. What's the value of showing them a good time if they won't appreciate the good time? Or in your case, if they won't appreciate your brand? You see where I'm going here? So it's all about making sure that you understand the layers of your brand. Understand what your brand is, what you ultimately want, how it's going to tie into your dreams, and where you ultimately want to be. And then the most important part, which is one that is the most fulfilling part of my brand, is how are you going to reach back out and help other people do the same thing? How are you going to help those people polish their brands? The main thing that people do wrong with their brands is they rush it. When I was sitting there waiting for Cynthia Bailey to contact me, it took about a year. I understood that she worked in a very important business. There's been tons of people who have reached out for various reasons, different castings, maybe different classes, things that maybe they didn't get a response in the time that they thought that they should get it in. Those people were so rude that I never have any type of desire to ever work with them again. Do I wish them the best? Absolutely, but I don't think that they really get it, and it's very unfortunate. Had I been that type of person, had I lost faith, had I gone on social media saying, oh my God, this woman said that she would contact me back and she didn't contact me. God forbid she was filming. God forbid she was flying across the world for different bookings here and there. God forbid she has a personal life and a family and a kid to raise, and all while being a married woman at the time. Suppose I would have lost faith and would have ruined my reputation and my brand and went in on her on social media or said things that were defaming. I think when it comes to branding, another bullet point that you should write down is just making sure that you are behaving in a way that people would want to work with your brand. It goes back to the previous bullet point of being approachable and people wanting to be around you. People should crave your brand, whatever it is. I don't care if you're selling toenail clippers or if you're selling baby ponies, okay? Whatever it is, you make sure that that brand is clean and clear, just like the face stuff. Clean and clear. Make sure that you are polished. Make sure that when the person goes to your timeline, it's one thing to have a personal page, okay? Let me just say that. It's one thing to have a personal page, but a business page, if you're trying to make money off of your brand and you're trying to monetize it, that's a whole different story. On your personal page, you can do whatever you want to do. You can say whatever you want to say. If you're a cusser, cuss. Just understand that there may be some brands that may not want to work with you. For myself, I work in entertainment. I have always built a brand via starting with Twitter in my Twitter commentary. Just talking about different shows, just being outspoken. Anybody who has followed me since the beginning of time knows that they know that that is initially how I built the following that I built, okay? But a lot of people just don't get that. They don't get that, like, okay, if it's part of your brand, then you can do it. But please don't be selling like baby diapers, and that's all you do is sell baby diapers. And then you're going on social media and cussing up a storm and popping pills on live. It just doesn't really work because people don't really view you as a personality. They view you as Vanessa who sells the diapers, Debbie who sells the donuts. Think about your brand. You have to think about, what is my brand? What does that mean to me? A lot of people just don't get that. I said all of that to say, suppose I would have given up. Suppose I would have been like, let me just go in. Let me just be ruthless online. Let me just mess up my brand. I knew that I actually am Carlton the artist. I knew that I am actually Carlton the educator, the one who runs back, and Carlton the humanitarian, the one who runs back to pull people in. That's everything that my brand stood for at that time, and that's everything that my brand stands for still today. Needless to say, after being patient, after putting in the work, after still doing my work to make sure that my brand remained polished, I kept reaching out to Cynthia occasionally. Hey, I know you're busy. I am so grateful for this opportunity. I just want to make sure that the opportunity is still available for me. And whenever you have free time, please let me know. And if she wouldn't respond, I would just wait a little longer each time, because the last thing that you want to do is pester someone with your brand. You cannot beat someone upside the head with your brand. There's people who post on their social media. There's people who buy radio advertising. There's people who just word of mouth. There's people who do group messages about their brands all day, every day, to the same people over and over and over and over again. That's not a good look. You cannot do that. You have to just gradually just let it come with the flow of things, and it'll just happen naturally. One thing that I did in this point in time where I was waiting on her to call me back was fasting. I'm not saying, again, I'm not like, Bishop Carlton Jakes, okay? Like, this is not Carlton Osteen Academy, okay? Nothing like it. But I mean, if y'all want to send me offering, cool. No big deal. I'm just joking. But one thing that I did was I fasted. And on this particular day, it was really a struggle. It was a Tuesday. That was the day that me and my friends we will fast until 4:00 p.m. just with liquids. I was the one that thought that it was just water, but I found out, shortly before, that I had been doing the fast wrong, but probably been doing it right, because I did only water till 4:00. This particular day, there's a Wendy's across the street from the bank that I worked at, and I'm sitting in the car. I'm like, I'm about to call this woman one more time, and if not, then I give up, God, because this fasting stuff, it might not be for me. I call, it rings. No answer. I'm literally like, okay, cool. I have been a good and faithful servant. I should be able to enter into the drive-thru with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. So I'm like, okay, let's just go ahead and get this started and eat. I start up the car, and guess who calls? Cynthia Bailey calls. And she's like, hey, can you be at my house tomorrow at 6:00? I'm like, absolutely, I could be at your house tomorrow. And then that's honestly where the rest is history, because of the brand that I had built, because of the fact that online I was very modest in my postings, yet honest and respectful. You have to be respectful. You have to build a brand that people respect. Look at the people that you aspire to be like. I challenge you to go to their social media pages. I challenge you to open yourself up. It's weird when people say they want to build a brand, but they have private pages. Why is your page private? It's okay if it's your personal page, but why is your business page private? The page where you are a public figure, the page where you are an artist, the page where you are a model, the page where you own Pete's Plumbing Service. Why is that private? Your cosmetics company. Why is that page private? Open those pages. You cannot build a brand or a following if people can't access you. If it's something where it's like a marketing strategy for a certain period of time, for a promotional period of time, then cool. But if it's something where it's always just like, oh, I got it locked because somebody I used to be cool with be checking my page, or oh, I got it locked because somebody from my past be checking my page, cut it out. You need to create a separation from your personal to your brand. Now, sometimes the personal goes with the brand because the personal is who you are. In my case, a personality, a public figure. You have to make sure that you understand the difference. If not, you can't be doing Wanda's wigs and be posting about what that dude did to you last Saturday or how he canceled that date. You just can't do that. Your followers are going to get a little bit thrown off. If you look at anybody great, anybody that is an entrepreneur that we look up to as it relates to social media or them just being an influencer, those people, they have built real polished brands where they separate business from pleasure. Go and check.